Crusty trains? Yeesh. And new trains. I saw a lot this weekend at the York Train Show. Now that's a lot of trains, and man, what a weekend it was. Hey guys, Sid from Sid's Trains here, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you all are having a great day. In this video, we are going to be checking out my trip to the York Train Show this past weekend. The York Train Show is held in York, Pennsylvania at the fairgrounds. The show is put on by the Train Collectors Association, or the TCA, specifically the Eastern Division of the TCA. There are several different halls at the fairgrounds, including halls with private dealers, layouts with trains running in them, and then one of the main attractions of the show is one of the biggest halls, the Orange Hall, which not only has dealers and private sellers, but also some of the manufacturers. Dealers like Train World, Grzybowski's Trains, TRAINZ.com, and many others are all at the show, and it truly makes for an amazing experience because you have new trains for sale, used trains for sale, and then there's also all the other private sellers and the layouts running in these halls. So altogether, it's an amazing weekend of trains running at the show, buying trains, and then socializing with the manufacturers and dealers. While one of the main attractions of the show is being able to purchase all different kinds of products in the various halls, this past York was very cool for me because not only did I get to purchase new trains, but I also got to socialize a lot more than I have in the past with manufacturers, dealers, and lots of fans of the channel. Meeting lots of fans of the channel was one of my favorite parts of this show, and specifically some of the younger kids I got to meet that came to the show to enjoy buying trains and also meeting a bunch of the YouTubers that were at the show. I had brought along some rolling stock to hand out to kids because when I went to the York Train Show for the first time, there were a few people that handed me free items because I was a younger person who was in the hobby. I'm a little older now, but when I first went to the show, I was just beginning my first year of high school, and so I was fairly young compared to all the other people at the show. But now that I've grown older, I want to kind of return the favor and give some rolling stock or just free items to some kids that were at the show and were fans of my channel. And they all really enjoyed this, and I'm happy that they got to get a piece of rolling stock, have a good time, and overall, I just enjoy people being happy. I want to thank all the people who walked up to me at the show, because I really appreciate your support, as you guys are the ones that keep me going. You watch the videos, you subscribe and like all the videos, and that really means a lot to me. And I just want to say thank you all for supporting my channel, and I hope that in the future I can continue to make amazing content for you to enjoy. Not only was I able to talk with people in the various halls, myself, Chris from Chris's Trains and Things, RJ from RJ's Trains, and Sean from Dakman Productions, we all put on a YouTube meet and greet on Saturday in the Orange Hall meeting room. It was a place where people could come, ask us questions, and socialize afterwards. And it was a really nice event. We had around 80 people sitting in the room and then around 40 to 50 online watching with the live stream. So it was really cool to see all these people show up just to ask us questions and meet us and socialize and have a great time. I'm really happy that the second YouTube meet and greet was a success, and I'm pretty sure now that we've done it twice and it's been a success both times, there will be another in October at the Fall York Train Show. Chris from Chris's Trains and Things also put on an event after one of the days of the show. He had people over, we ran trains, talked for hours upon hours, and just had a really good time. There were members of the Detroit Three Railers, members of some local clubs, TCA members, and many others. So it was a really great event, I must say. I always love going to Chris's layout. His layout and collection are beautiful. And he made a video on his trip to the show where he purchased a lot of nice trains and I think had a very good show. So definitely go check out his video. But thank you, Chris, for having me over. And it was another great evening after one of the days at York. It wouldn't be a trip to a train show if I didn't return with way too many trains. I mean, way too many trains. Starting with TRAINZ. That's TRAINZ with a Z. Before we get into it, as always, if you would like to save $10 off your next order at TRAINZ.com, make sure to use my code SIDSTRAINZ at checkout. Also use my affiliate link, www.trainz.com/SIDSTRAINZ. Your support is greatly appreciated. TRAINZ had tons of amazing items at their booth this time. They always come to the show with an amazing assortment of items, engines, rolling stock, accessories, and whatnot. And they really blew it out of the park this time. And tons of amazing engines. They were selling stuff right and left. This time I went for some smaller items because I was starting out with the show kind of thinking about some smaller items that I've been looking for a while. And I walked up to the booth and I found one of the items that I'd really been looking for quite a while. That is the Century Club PT tender to go with the Century Club Empire State Express Hudson. This tender I've been looking for quite a while. It comes in this awesome blue box, and I found it at their booth. This tender was mint in the box. It had been never used, so it was really cool that I was able to find that. And this tender is an extraordinary piece. The Empire State Express Hudson from Lionel has these side skirts that can be removed to then look like the engine later in service. And of course you then put the PT tender behind it, and man does it look so mean going down the rails. The PT tender gives it such an aggressive look versus the more streamlined look that the engine has with the normal tender. I love both, but I've really been looking for this tender for quite a while, and I'm very happy that I was able to find the tender. Not only is this tender an amazing looking piece, because it has 14 wheels. 14 wheels on one tender. This thing is so cool. But also, it has some cool technology inside of it. It has, of course, Rail Sounds 5, but look at that. 4 speakers. 4! That's what I call a lot of sound. My father and I also purchased some reefers from TRAINZ. There is a New York Central die-cast reefer from K-Line. It's a really heavy car. My dad found this and he really loved how heavy it was. And so he picked it up, and it's a very beautiful looking car. The red paint and all the lettering is very nice. He also found a Stewart's Root Beer reefer from Williams. A very simple car, but my dad loves reefers and just freight cars that have very creative art on them, and in this case, it's root beer. Who doesn't like root beer? We also found a couple more die-cast model cars to go onto the layout in the town scene, including a Ferrari and a Pontiac Trans Am. Both very cool pieces, and I'm a car guy, so I love to have some variety of cars across the layout. Finally, something that I did not buy at the show, but had TRAINZ delivered to me, was this thing. Hey, this thing is a very kind of Frankentrain of a thing. This is a T1 Duplex, specifically, of course, the Pennsylvania T1 Duplex. This is a Williams brass model, and it's intended to not look like this. Someone has definitely gone wild with the green paint and a brush, and wow. Whew. This thing is crusty looking. The tender is even more crazy. Just look at this. It's just it's so crusty. But you know me, I love a good project. Recently I restored a Vision Line Challenger from a very poor state and condition in pretty much every way. And so I saw this on their website and I was like, why not I try and restore this and upgrade it to become a very beautiful model? And so that's what I will be doing in the future in a future video. So stay tuned for that. But if you've ever seen a crusty train, I think this one might have you beat. I think I spoke a little too soon on the idea of that T1 being the crustiest and kind of most messed up engine in the world because, well, I found these. This is a MTH New York Central A2 Berkshire, and you guys probably know what this is because I made a video on this probably a year and a half ago or so, and they're pretty desirable engines, and well, this one is anything but desirable because, well, it has a story. And so does this. This is a Lionel JLC GG1. This is the top of the line when it came to Lionel in the early 2000s. And these are very stellar models, but both of them have a crazy story. They both have water damage, they're dirty, they're missing parts, and well, I found them at the same booth. I found both of these at the Trains and Things booth at the back of the Orange Hall. Trains and Things is a store in New Jersey, and Tony, the owner, explained to me kind of what happened to these, and it just kind of blew me away, and they were very inexpensive because, well, just look, you might be able to see some. There's rust, there's dirt, there's dirt underneath the pantographs, there's parts missing. Just look at them. They're just, talk about crusty. This is what I call crusty, and the tender on the A2 is even crazier. It's covered in just dirt. The top of the tender, the coupler is rusty. These are definitely crusty, and both of these will also be getting their own video where I restore them and fix them up, so stay tuned for that. But, yeah, I don't know what was going through me at the time. Maybe I was just really looking for broken trains. I like projects, so I definitely have some projects now. While at the show, of course, there's Train World, and they had a kind of interesting product sitting at their booth that I was kind of surprised to see, and I was very curious about. It was this right here. This is a Lionel Command Control smoke fluid loader. It is an accessory that operates and fills your engine with smoke fluid. But they had it listed for a very discounted price, and so I walked over to Ken Jr. Because we weren't only talking, but I saw this item and I was like, "What's the story? Why is it so cheap?" And he explained to me that they got a batch of these where they sometimes worked, they sometimes didn't, and this is one of the ones that kind of works. This arm right here swings back and forth via command control, and that part works. The arm will swing back and forth, no problem. The light here also works. The part that doesn't work is the pump that pumps the smoke fluid from this tank up through a tube and to the dispenser here. That's the part that doesn't work, so I'm going to try and fix that in the future. But I got to thank Train World for being such great people. It was nice to meet Ken Bianco Jr. and talk with him. I've met him before, but in the past, the shows have been very busy when I've walked up to the Train World booth, but this time I was able to stand there, talk with him for a little while, and it's always great talking with an amazing dealer in the hobby. And he also threw in an Atlas container that says Train World on it, so I gotta thank Ken Bianco Jr. for everything that he does, and always great to see Train World. They are definitely an amazing dealer in this hobby. Thank you. My dad and I also found this. This is a Lionel Great Railway Adventures book from back in the early 2000s. I used to read these when I was a little kid, and it even came with the little cassette that goes with it. There was also train sets that they made. I have some of these up in my attic. I played with these as a kid a ton. They had this really cool track system. The stories were really good, and they combined the idea of model trains with, of course, the toys, and then real trains because they were based on real trains. In this case, the President Express, or the B&O's President Washington in this case, because it's in that green color. Uh, these stories were really good, and I just saw this, and it was so cool to see it in its original kind of blister pack. It's really clean looking. The book is in great shape. It has that cassette, and I just couldn't pass it up. It was really cheap, and I have all the books still, but it's just so neat to see something in its original blister pack with the learning curve label on there and everything like this. I remember these books from when I was a little kid, and it just brings back good memories, so I picked it up because why not? One last thing before we get to the big item that I got at the show is I was walking through the Orange Hall and saw this one private seller selling a bunch of trains that needed some repairs, and my dad saw this right here. This is a Lionel Command Control Amtrak Trackmobile, and it's a really cool little motorized unit. It's command control, but the board is blown up. When I picked it up, it said does not work, and I asked the seller if he knew what it was, and he said, yeah, the board just let out a big puff of white smoke when he turned it on for the first time, and so it doesn't work. And when you pick this thing up, you can really smell that kind of plasticky, burning electronic smell. So it definitely needs some work, but at the very least, I could get it running in conventional mode in the future, and then just have kind of a neat little motorized unit. It can pull maybe a couple cars or something like that, but it's just kind of neat. My dad saw it, and it was inexpensive, so why not? Definitely a neat little item. Well, you've been staring at it this whole time. It's been sitting right here the entire time I've been talking. This right here is the big item that I purchased at the York Train Show. This is a Lionel JLC H7 in the Chesapeake and Ohio paint scheme. It's a 2882 articulated engine, and I've been looking for one of these for a while now. It's a JLC model, so of course, like I've said in some of my previous videos, these were the top of the line models for the time, back around 2000 to 2005 for Lionel, and they're really stellar models. I found this one at Vince's TRAINZ. Vince's TRAINZ returned to York back in October, and he came to this April with tons and tons of amazing items. I saw him selling Vision Line, MTH Premier, Lionel Legacy engines all day long. Pretty much everything at the front side of his booth was sold within minutes of the beginning of each day. It was really cool to see, and I showed up to the show one day and saw this JLC H7 sitting there, and man, I had to have it. So I cut a deal with Vince. I helped him sell some trains on the day before, and so he and I talked, and we made a deal, and I'm really happy that I was able to get this engine from him. He's a really nice guy. Lots of really nice trains at that booth, as I said before. You can just see so much stuff, so much variety at that booth, and I'm really happy that I was able to get this engine. I'm a huge C&O fan, and you can't really have a C&O collection without having one of these. It's just such a mean looking engine. It's got those air pumps and that feed water heater on the front, and of course that Vanderbilt style tender. Such an aggressive looking engine. I really love the Chesapeake and Ohio, and I'm really happy that I was able to pick this engine up and now have kind of a C&O staple in my collection. It wouldn't be me without a few modifications, so I decided to do some maintenance and some minor upgrades to this JLC H7. I started with the smoke unit. It was kind of whiffing smoke out when I first got it. The fan and just the smoke unit in general needed a really good rebuild. It was missing a gasket, and the batting was really burnt up. So I rebuilt the smoke unit, drilled out the fan hole, and it smokes much better now than it did before. I also upgraded the chuffs in the engine. From the factory, it has 2 chuffs per revolution, but I changed out the cam on one of the axles to a 4 chuff cam And so now it has 4 chuffs per revolution, and it sounds much better. And of course is more realistic. And so as it's going down the track, it can kind of cruise around with that 4 chuffs, and it just sounds amazing. So that's everything that I bought while at the York Train Show. I'm really happy with all the items that my dad and I were able to pick up. I have tons of projects to work on in the future for future videos and just to have some new and interesting trains in my collection. I'm overall happy with everything that I purchased. And I've been talking for a while now. I bet you want to see some trains run, so I'm going to show you some clips that I took while at Chris's house one evening, and then show you trains that I bought running around the layout.
You are
So as you can see, I had an amazing time at the York Train Show. Of course, I love buying the trains and getting new products for my collection, but what this show this time really meant to me was just having fun and getting to socialize with all my friends and getting to meet fans of the channel and new people that I've never met before. Really, having fun and just friendship is what this hobby is all about. And this past weekend was a really good demonstration of how much fun I can have and anybody can have in this hobby. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know if you go to the York Train Show. Have you ever been or have you not? If you haven't, I definitely recommend you trying to get to the show. It's held twice a year, once in April and once in October. So I definitely recommend you trying to get out, as you have two chances and it's an amazing experience. Definitely try and get it out to the show. But as always, make sure to subscribe to the channel, click that bell for notifications, leave a like on this video. I'd really appreciate it. But I'm Sid, and I'll see you next time, guys.